For today's cup of coffee, I'm going to take you down one of my many rabbit holes. And yeah, this one's been building up, so get ready for the journey, folks. Mr. Ballen is a very popular YouTuber, and he's had a channel. He does have a channel that's under his name, and I will post a link for his channel in the description box. And if you're not subscribed to him, please consider doing so, because he's got a lot of really interesting content, and he's a really excellent storyteller. So I watched one of his videos the other night that had 3 shorter stories, and the second story really has bothered me for days. And I will post a link for this particular video. I want you to go and listen to him and the way that he tells the story. I'm just going to give you a brief summary of what it was, so you can go and listen to it the way that he presents it. And I'm one of these, I don't take claim for other people's content. So this is sort of commentary on that. But I've got to give you the basis of the story. And he explains how a college kid fell in love with a girl on campus, and he later married the girl. They had a daughter, and then the father became so successful in his job that the wife was able to be a stay-at-home mother. And later on they had a little boy, and the man loves his kids and his family so much that often before he goes to work that he would open the door to the kids' room just so that he could watch them sleep. Now, if you're a parent, that's not creepy. You know, parents do that. And the family had just one of those wonderful Disney lives, you know, that they enjoyed family meals after the father came home from work. They would play games and interact with each other until they went to bed. And one night the guy started seeing this red lamp out of the left side of his peripheral vision. And the lamp appeared blurry. I mean, the lamp was there in the room. And so he looked at it directly, and there was nothing wrong with it. But anytime that he would, you know, look at anything else in the room, it was not blurry, but that lamp. So that was very peculiar. And, you know, at one point when he was looking at it, the lamp turned upside down in his vision. So he wondered if he was having some kind of medical issue, if he was having some kind of tumor or stroke or something like that. But he didn't want to concern his wife, so he didn't say anything. Men, you all have a tendency to do that. Why? Why would you do that? And so he misses work the next day because he didn't get any sleep. And it seems like the only thing he can focus on is this red lamp. And I can understand that when you've got something that's bothering you like that, that's, you know, sort of takes over your world. And so he missed 3 days of work, which was highly unusual for him. And at one point, he could no longer really respond to his wife, so she contacts a doctor. The doctor really couldn't find anything wrong with him, and the man, he's become fixated on this light and what is happening, and his, you know, his perception of what is happening with it. And you know, at one point, it was almost like the lamp consumed him. That's how he had described it. And that's kind of horrific. Okay, suddenly he wakes up and he finds that he's laying on the ground of his college campus. Students standing around him, all of them are wide-eyed, and said a campus cop came and scooped him up and put him in the back of the vehicle and then took him to a hospital. And what had happened was, for some unexplained reason, a football player there on the campus had hit this kid more than once and had knocked him down. And it's like the man's life, the kid's life, all of it, the job, the wife, the kids, all of it had been a hallucination that was brought on through the head trauma. And it's said that he was very depressed for years and grieved for this family that he never actually had. Yeah, that story messed with me. Please, like I said, I urge you to go and listen to Mr. Ballen explain this. Green Jay had shared his experience, you know, the DMT experience of younger him seeing what turned out to be the arm of the older version of himself. And that brings into question the concept of time and space. Plus, that's in addition to the possibility of alternate universes and or parallel dimensions. And, you know, I've had to grapple with the concept of alternate realities and dimensions for years now. And for you newcomers, you know, those that have heard the story, please be patient or fast forward or whatever. But for the new members, I've got to tell the story and still trying to get it down to a 30-second sound bite. And it's hard to put 10 years into a 30-second sound bite. Anyhow, the man that I married in 2011, Michael, he was diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder in 2014. And dissociative identity disorder, DID, used to be called multiple personality disorder. And this was caused in him by prolonged severe childhood abuse. And Michael grew up in a war zone that was raging in a lower level of hell. That's the only way to describe it. And neither of us knew that he had any kind of mental health issue, you know, when we got married. And there were instances where Michael acted rather odd when we first got married. But other than just sort of raised eyebrows, you know, none of us in the family were just sort of like, okay, that's a little unusual, but okay. Until 2013. And that was a year my world blew up. And Michael's personality totally reversed. He was out of our home for 9 months. And what happened during those 9 months and the people that he and they were around, it cost him 5 years of incarceration. And it's one of those, when somebody's incarcerated, it's the whole family that's incarcerated. It's not just the individual. All right, we got him back home September of 2019, but it still wasn't him. We don't know which one it was that walked out those doors, but it wasn't our Michael. Now, prior to incarceration, that was when he got the diagnosis of DID. And at that time, there were 3, possibly 4 others identified. There was the core Michael, which is the one I married, I think. At this point, I don't know. There was little Michael, there was the anti-Michael, and the one who called itself Renegade. And there may be others that we're not aware of because, yeah, it's complicated on that. Anyhow, during incarceration, there was one who called itself Sam that came out. And our Michael thought that Sam may be the actual name of the one that we called the anti-Michael. So we sat here and we watched helplessly as whichever one that it was that had taken over that drove him away the first time, drove him away again September the 8th of 2020. And that was the last time we saw Michael. Last time I spoke to him was September the 9th of 2020. And yeah, it was the same entity, because once you know them, you can recognize them. I'm sure that you all know that. It's just like you see somebody that you went to grade school with, and it can be 30 years later, and you're like, hey, I know that kid. Yeah, it's basically the same thing, only it was not a kid. Okay, it was about a week after getting through with the, oh, he's not coming back, that youngest kid and I started comparing notes about what had happened in the previous months, which was not quite a year. He didn't make it a year. And a lot of the supernatural events, that's when it's like, oh, what happened to this? Where did that go? How did that happen? And so that's when, it's easy to discount and ignore the paranormal when it's going on sometimes, because we sort of deny what's going on. And we were so busy trying to stabilize the situations and stuff that we really just didn't think about it. But when you've got somebody sitting on the couch next to you that's talking to different ones inside of self, and that you know that is not the same person, it was like living with a zombie. Because I'm like, it looked like him, but it wasn't him. And youngest kid knew that also. So what I want to know is, could DID be a matter of multiverse collision? That different ones that are supposed to be in different dimensions, for whatever reason, got entangled. Maybe it's like a ball of yarn or something, and there were knots there, and they dragged the other ones through where they weren't supposed to be. Could it be like Green Jay's little and adult selves plus others existing at the same time. But even then, with the Green Jay's experience, he had only one consciousness, and that consciousness understood what was going on. All right, we think of demons as disembodied Nephilim, which were hybrids, and that, the bodies were removed from them. But the spirits are earthbound, and in different traditions and stuff, there are other earth spirits that exist. You've got a lot of lore about, about those earth spirits. What if what we call demons are also interdimensional beings? And part of the research I've done over the years, including accounts where kids were ritualistically abused so they would develop DID and later be used as sleeper agents. Now, that is not what happened with Michael. It was just evil. Anybody that would hurt a kid, that's just flat out evil. All right, it's possible that demonic entities can enter into that spirit or whatever through cracks in the auric field, because sometimes we don't have the language to try to discuss these things. All right, and what I want to know is, when one of those entities takes over, where does the core personality go? Where does the spirit or soul that's assigned to the body go when their physical form has been invaded? Because Michael had basically no memory of 9 months the other time. And from other people, that it's very hard to find the personal account of people who have been possessed. And I guess there's a little bit of stigma associated with that, don't you reckon? But what little bit I could find, they also had no memory. And I had trained therapists that had said, even before this, it's like that he would switch unlike any other person that had DID that she had ever worked with. And that's one of her areas of concentration. It's because he wouldn't really switch, but anyhow. So these are questions that I have. Okay, can a shattered spirit be put back together? And this leads me to also another question that I have. And for years I've stated, like, I feel like I'm in a nightmare and can't wake up. What if I'm right and I really am caught in some kind of a nightmare, like that kid, that his whole family and everything like that? It was sort of like Wizard of Oz, where she thought she had been gone for months or however long, and that it was all hallucination, where she got, head trauma. Okay, there are a lot of days that I literally feel like I'm sleepwalking, and that may have to do with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, whatever else stuff that I have. But what if I really am? And that's one thing. Green Jay, did you have tactile sensation while you were having your experience? Anybody else out there that have, used substances, was there still tactile, or was it simply visual? And was it visual? Was it auditory? Was there olfactory? Was there the sensation of taste? What senses were present during those experiences? And the only reason I would ever consider using a substance like, DMT would be to find answers for some of these questions. But because I've had the life experiences, like just the few that I've shared here, that's why I am very fearful of ever experimenting with anything like DMT. So comments, suggestions, enlightened answers, all are welcomed. And if you've had any experiences with supernatural, paranormal, UFOs, aliens, big feet, if you've had, even as far if it was a substance-induced experience, send all those to me. Those just, we're all questing for understanding. And send those emails to me at cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. And I very much understand it can be hard to open up and share experiences that are in the realm of the unexplained. And you don't have to worry about me ever making fun of you or shaming you or anything like that, because I've had that done to me, and I will not do that to anybody else. And, you know, if you just need somebody to listen to you, and you don't want a video, if you want to just share your experience with me, that's fine too. You know, just say it's like, hey, this is just between us, and that's okay, because I'm willing to listen to you. And I thoroughly believe the more we talk about these things, the more we share, the less power darkness has over us, because this is bringing these things to light. And that is one thing that darkness fears, is light. So send me your emails and send me your thoughts. You all have a beautiful, blessed day.